Hey, this is Matt once again. What about the videos? The paid request this time from Mr. Blockworld. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topic reaction, commentary, review, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both things are down below in the info box. And Mr. Blockworld wanted me to look into a list here of unproduced Quentin Tarantino projects. It is from the 80s to today. So I figured I'd just read through them and give any thoughts that I can give. And let's get right into it. So in the 80s, apparently, Tarantino co-wrote a film called Love, Birds, and Bondage with Scott Medill. Tarantino would go on to co-produce and co-direct the film. Really? Don't even remember that film. Medill passed away 1987. And he ended his life, his own life. And he's destroyed all footage that had been shot. Wow, no wonder I never saw it. The film concerned a young woman who suffered a traumatic brain injury after an accident leading her to act erratically. She is institutionalized in a mental hospital, and her boyfriend figures out a way to get himself admitted. Tarantino played the boyfriend? Jesus. So he co-wrote and co-directed a film with a guy, and the guy destroyed all the footage. And damn, I've never heard of that. That is crazy. Well, I mean, I say crazy, but that's sad to hear. Damn, right off the bat, just really depressing shit. I mean, does make you wonder, like, why that was the case and why he wanted all the footage destroyed. And I'm like, I doubt the film was that bad. Obviously, there's some other serious issues going on. Very sad to hear. I mean, I don't know who Scott Medill is, but that's always sad to hear. So that's too bad. My best friend's birthday, long before his first release film Reservoir Dogs, Tarantino met with Great Hammond. And there's a 30-40 page script called My Best Friend's Birthday. The script was expanded to 80 pages. They agreed to direct the film on a $5,000 budget and a 16mm camera. The film was shot in the span of 4 years. It was often alleged that the completed runtime came to 70 minutes, but due to a laugh fire during editing, the film was nearly destroyed and only 36 minutes remained. In the 2019 book, My Best Friend's Birthday, The Making of a Quentin Tarantino Film, it was revealed the fire story was fabricated, with Tarantino choosing not to dismiss it as he thought it sounded interesting. In actuality, some roles of film were simply discarded by mistake, and Tarantino, unsatisfied with the final product, edited together the scenes he liked, leaving the project unfinished. The 36-minute edit was roughly edited together and screened at several film festivals. So I wonder if that's ever been available online for people to watch. That seemed like something that would be a nice extra feature on some release. I think people would be intrigued to see it, even if it's rough form, even if it's only 30-some minutes long. The Open Road. Tarantino co-worker and collaborator Roger Avery wrote a 40 to 80 page script while working with Tarantino at Video Archives, the video store. It was similar to After Hours. The story revolved around a button-up businessman who decides to leave his world for the open road. He ends up picking up a wild hitchhiker and they get into various adventures. But Roger Avery struggled to finish the story, and at some point Tarantino started to work on it and make changes. According to Tarantino, the title of the screenplay was Pandemonium Reigns, and Roger Avery, though, says it was a separate script about a boxer who does not throw a fight, and the origins of Butch, who would be in Pulp Fiction. At some point, the script was named The Open Road, and Tarantino ended up turning into a 500-page screenplay. Jesus, 500 pages. A significant change came when Tarantino changed the businessman and hitchhiker into a comic book store worker at a call girl named Clarence in Alabama. Well, that sounds familiar. Clarence begins to write a movie script while the two of them are on the road. And it's about a psychotic fantasy version of him in Alabama. The couple are serial killers named Mickey and Mallory. Even more familiar. Eventually, story and plot from Clarence's script start to bleed into his and Alabama's life, blurring the lines of fantasy and reality. Neither could figure out how to end the story, so they took the story apart, and they had two screenplays. True Romance, Natural Born Killers, and then some aspects were put into Killing Zoe and Pulp Fiction. So interesting how things change into, honestly, a better result. Because I like Pulp Fiction, I like Reservoir Dogs. Natural Born Killers, I don't hate the film. So get into the 90s. After the release of Reservoir Dogs, Tarantino contemplated developing a film on Luke Cage. Being a fan of the character, he had a meeting with producer Ed Pressman, who owned the rights, and proposed a film based on the character and suggested casting Lawrence Fishburne as Cage. Despite liking the idea, Tarantino shifted his interest to Pulp Fiction. I mean, a Luke Cage film with Lawrence Fishburne and Tarantino directing, I would love to have seen that. That would have been awesome to see. That would have been cool to see. God, Sally, that just wasn't the case. That's too bad. Wasn't Lawrence Fishburne at one point going to be in Pulp Fiction, but then, or I think at one point, maybe it was Die Hard with a Vengeance. Something about Die Hard with a Vengeance, and something happened, and then Sam Jackson got the part. I don't know. There's something about that with Lawrence Fishburne that reminds me of that story. I can't remember the details on it. But yeah, Lawrence Fishburne, Luke Cage, and Tarantino. I would love to have seen that. That would have been really cool to see, because I wasn't really big on the TV show recently. The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Tarantino briefly attached to the film adaptation of the 1960s TV series. He opted to do Jackie Brown instead. And eventually there was a film adaptation without Tarantino's involvement, and it got a critical and box office floppage as a result. Never saw the Man from U.N.C.L.E. TV show, so I don't really know much about it. I do like Jackie Brown, so I'm fine with him doing that. Sometime in the 90s, Tarantino considered a remake of Lucio Fulci's The Psychic. He intended for Jackie Brown co-star Bridget Fonda to star in the film. By the year 2000, Tarantino gave an update on the proposed remake. It's a project in the murky future. I don't even own the rights to this stuff. It's one of those things where it's like if somebody buys the rights to make it, I won't make it. They can totally fuck it up. If it's meant to be, it'll happen. No further remarks on the project were made. At one point, one of the original film's writers, he had been contacted by producers from Sony Pictures who were interested in having Tarantino or others direct the remake of the film. Obviously, that didn't come to be, and maybe that's for the better. I mean, instead of just doing a remake, do your own original projects. The Killer Inside Me. Mid-90s, after the success of Pulp Fiction, Tarantino was attached to direct adaptation of The Killer Inside Me. Uma Thurman was set to star as Amy, Juliette Lewis was considered for the part of Joyce, and Brad Pitt was attached to star as Lou. This effort fell through after 9/11 because the film script was deemed too violent. That happened a lot after 9/11, where films either got, instead of Killing Mrs. Tingle, it was called Teaching Mrs. Tingle, Kevin Williamson's film. There's a lot of other films that either got cut down to PG-13 or they're a bit uneasy to release it. The film was eventually directed by Michael Winterbottom in 2010 without the involvement of Tarantino. And I don't remember if I saw that film. Sounds familiar. But yeah, it is what it is. Silver Surfer. Tarantino went to Constantine Films with a completed script for a proposed Silver Surfer film, but Constantine Films passed on his script. Can you imagine that, man? Like, you have a Quentin Tarantino script of Silver Surfer, and you are the assholes that pass on it. My God. And there's still, for all the movies they make on superhero films, there's still no Silver Surfer movie. To this day. No, we gotta make room for fucking Atom Man or whatever the fuck else it is. Mr. Eye-Roll, whatever the fuck other random superhero that fucking pop up to make a superhero movie. In the late 90s, Tarantino was offered to direct a film adaptation of Green Lantern before there was even a script, but he declined the offer. In 1999, Tarantino was also linked to a live-action Iron Man film as director and writer. I do like the Iron Man we got, so maybe that worked out for the better. Tarantino's version of Natural Born Killers. He sold the script to producers Jane and Hampshire and Don Murphy for $10,000. After his previous attempt to direct the film himself on a $500,000 budget didn't work out, those two sold the script to Warner Brothers, caught the attention of Oliver Stone, who rewrote the script while retaining some of Tarantino's dialogue. Due to heavy rewrites, Writers Guild of America ruled out Tarantino for story credit. Some of the changes include... Okay, Tarantino's version does not include a prison riot, a resolved ending, or a compliant Wayne Dale. Mickey and Mallory both grew up happily with no abuse. They get married legally in front of a judge and do not have sex with or flirt with anyone else. There's a spoof version of the film within the film. Instead of including this in the film, Stone used it for the actual Mickey and Mallory, making them much more transparent and satirical. In Tarantino's script, Mickey and Mallory grow tired of robberies and turn to home invasions and the butcher of entire families. In Tarantino's version, Mickey and Mallory are supporting characters. The story is told through the perspective of Wayne Dale and his TV crew. It focuses more on their dialogue and jokes. Tarantino also did not have a scene of Mickey and Mallory meeting a Native American guide or have a vision quest. The theme that Don Murphy honed in on the most on Tarantino's script was a jailhouse interview between Dale and Mickey, which was inspired by Geraldo Rivera and Charles Manson's interview. Tarantino gave a negative response to the film. Despite wishing the best for Stone during the film's production, he responded, "I hated the movie. If you like my stuff, don't watch that movie." I don't blame him because Natural Born Killers I don't hate, but I do get Tarantino's complaints about it. And actually have him be in the focal point of the reporters actually sounds like a more interesting movie than what Oliver Stone did. Although I do appreciate Oliver Stone's visual style in that movie. Then Tarantino's True Romance. In his version, Clarence was shot and killed. Once Alabama escapes, she contemplates ending her life before ultimately deciding not to. She does not have a child or go to Mexico. In Tarantino's screenplay, Floyd is not a stoner. I do like the way it played out with Tony Scott's version. I think even Tarantino said, it wasn't my script, but the way Tony Scott shot the film, it works for his film. And it seemed like Tarantino was a fan of Tony Scott, which was nice. So, I like the movie version of True Romance more. That's one where I gotta go with Tony Scott's version more so. The Vader Brothers. When developing Inglourious Basterds, Tarantino began considering making The Vader Brothers, a film that would have starred Michael Madsen from Reservoir Dogs and John Travolta as Vincent from Pulp Fiction. So obviously it would have been a prequel. In 2007, due to the actors' ages and because of their characters' deaths in their respective films, Tarantino claimed that the film, retitled Double V Vader, was kinda unlikely now. That's true because the characters had died, so you'd have to make a prequel, so they have to be younger, but if the actors are so much older, how you don't make that pass? Which, is understandable. I can see why that didn't get made. Obviously, the ones I would have been curious about so far have been the Luke Cage, the Silver Surfer, and Tarantino's version of Natural Born Killers. In the 2000s, 40 Lashes Less One. Tarantino in 2000 was rumored to be developing the Elmore Leonard novel into a film. By 2007, he had written 20 pages of screenplay. In 2015, he revealed that he still owned the rights to adapt the book. He was considering adapting it into a TV miniseries. Well, I doubt that's ever going to come to be, so... Oh well. I never read the book, so I can't say anything about it. Kill Bill video game and anime. In 2002, it was announced that Vivendi Games, originally Black Label Games, had acquired the rights to develop a video game based on the movie that was meant to coincide with the film's release, where Tarantino served as a creative consultant. It was shown in 2003 with some demo footage leaking online. I didn't know there was demo footage. But a lot of games based on movies don't really turn out to be the best, so maybe that's for the better. In an anime film, featuring the bride when she was with the Daily Viper assassination squad, so it would have been a prequel, Tarantino revealed that the 2006 San Diego Comic-Con International that he intended to make the film following Grindhouse, though by 2021 Tarantino stated the project never came to fruition due to his fatigue after working on the original Kill Bill films. I mean, I get it. Right, you could have given it to someone else and give their interpretation. I mean, if it's supposed to be a prequel, just say, here's some notes, go make your own film. Would have been curious to see, but it's, it is what it is. There's another idea animated film that would showcase the origin of Bill and his three godfathers, Hattori Hanzo, who I think was Sonny Chiba, Pei Mei, and Esteban. Tarantino revealed it in 2006 to make the film under Grindhouse. So I guess after Kill Bill, he's like, I want to do animated. I wanted to have it animated. He had too much on his plate. And it's like, you know what? Just let it go. Same thing with this. Kill Bill Volume 3 and 4. He believed he would do 2 further live-action films. In 2004, he said, oh yeah, initially I was thinking it would be my Dollars trilogy. I was going to do a new one every 10 years. But I need at least 15 years before I do this again. I've already done the whole mythology. Sophie will get all Bill's money. She'll raise Nitti, who will take on the bride. Nitti deserves her revenge every bit as much as the bride deserves hers. I might even shoot a couple of scenes for it now so I can get the actresses while they're this age. The revenge of 2 killers whose arms and eyes were hacked by Uma Thurman in the first stories. Daughters to revenge their mother's death. Don't need to see that. I don't think anyone gave a shit about the girl getting her revenge for her mother. No one really... I can't say no one, but I wouldn't give a shit about that. Just keep it as it is. In 2012, he said, I don't know if there's ever going to be a Kill Bill Volume 3. We'll see. Probably not, though. Tarantino remains non-committal and actually making a sequel. In 2019, Tarantino stated, me and Umar have talked about recently. Frankly, to tell you the truth, I've thought about it a little further. We were talking about it literally last week. If any of my movies were going to spring from my other movies, it would be a third Kill Bill. In June 2021, Tarantino said that the film would take place 20 years following the original films, when Beatrice Kittle and her daughter, Bibi, are forced to go on the run after a period of peace. Found the idea of casting Thurman and her daughter, Maya Hawke, in the 2 roles exciting, after previously worked with Hawke on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He also noted the possibility of Elle Driver, Sophie, and Godot's twin sister also appearing in the film. Of course, you have the whole bloody affair, which in 2014, I mean, for those who don't know, this print includes intermissions, ran at 215 minutes. It combines the 2 films together. A fight sequence no longer being in black and white footage. So yeah, that sword fight that was in black and white in the end of the first movie, you see it all in color, additional violence and gore. You can get that like overseas or something, but I don't know why that is not. As of March 2022, the film has yet to receive a limited theatrical run or home release. I mean, you can find it online to watch somewhere, but I don't know why it hasn't been in the U.S. I don't know why. What's the deal? Untitled Kung Fu Project. It'd be filmed entirely in Mandarin. It was to be made before Inglourious Basterds. It was inspired by Tarantino's scene House of Flying Daggers. Released in 2 theatrical cuts, one with subtitles, the other with out-of-sync English language dubbing. Some of the old-school redubs. No updates. In mid-2000, Tarantino expressed interest in directing Casino Royale. Unfortunately, Eon Productions had no interest in hiring Tarantino. He claims to have worked behind the scenes with the Fleming family, and he believed this was the reason why filmmakers finally went ahead with Casino Royale. He would have set the film in the 60s, would have only made it with Pierce Brosnan returning as Bond. By February 2005, Martin Campbell was announced as the film's director. I mean, Tarantino working on a James Bond film with Pierce Brosnan, I gotta admit, that would be very interesting to see. What I like the Casino Royale we have, but But I admit, part of me is very intrigued to see what that would have come to be. And since Pierce Brosnan is my Bond, I gotta be honest, I would rather see that. Unless it was shitty, then stick with the. I like the one we have now. But man, if you're giving me a choice, Pierce Brosnan and Tarantino in a Bond, I would love to have seen that result. I truly would. Now this is interesting. Tarantino wanted to take his hand at another popular 70s genre film. Jackie Brown was blaxploitation, Kill Bill was kung fu, so he wanted to do a disaster film, like the 70s, like Tower Inferno, Airport. He wanted to get as many of his recurring actors as possible and dub it Airport 2005, just like Airport 1977. He marked his casting choices. John Travolta could be the pilot, Pam Grier the stewardess, Robert Forster, Michael Madsen, Tim Roth, Harvey Keitel, Bridget Fonda. But no other updates, and sadly Robert Forster passed away in 2019. But I've had Robert Forster be the pilot. I think that'd be cool. But that would have been neat to see his take on that. But sadly, it's not the case. Tarantino Rodriguez expressed their interest in Grindhouse 2. Tarantino wanted to do an old school kung fu movie, Mandarin, so maybe that's what it was for. Eli Roth and Edgar Wright said we could do Don't and Thanksgiving, and that'd be a Grindhouse sequel. But Grindhouse, I saw in the theater. It was a wonderful experience, and that film bombed badly. I was even in the theater, and there was barely anyone around. But it was a cool experience seeing the Fate trailers and 2 movies and intermissions, and that was great. Sadly, not many people gave a shit to do that. Westworld. In 2007, after Grindhouse, Warner Bros. Had hired Tarantino to direct a remake of Westworld. Arnold was involved in the project as the lone gunslinger, which would have been ironic because some would say Yul Brynner was an inspiration for the Terminator, so of course Arnold would be that. Tarantino was fired due to creative differences with Warner Bros., specifically on the fact that he wanted to have a dark tone and was unsatisfied with Schwarzenegger. Eventually the project was scrapped. I wonder if he means he was unsatisfied with the choice of Schwarzenegger or what the other deal was. I mean, I like the original Westworld. I know there was a TV show eventually. It's not really... wasn't really crying out for a remake either. Now this would have been the most interesting. I did hear about this. Warner Bros. Offered Tarantino a film adaptation of Sergeant Rock with a script written by David Peoples. Tarantino called the script magnificent and believed he would do a good job if he directed it. He doubted he would make the film, but still considered it from time to time. I mean, Sergeant Rock... I mean, Tarantino doing a Vietnam type of action movie? Or... well, what? Vietnam. I don't know why I said Vietnam. I don't know why anytime I think of Sergeant, I always keep thinking of Vietnam, but it's not the case. Because this comic was created in the 50s. So I don't know why I keep saying that. I always say that, and I always like, wait a minute, no it's not. I just... Oh yeah, a Vietnam soldier by the name of Adam Rock appears in Swamp Thing, though it's never specifically stated if he intended to be a relative of Frank Rock. So it's World War II. I don't know why I always kept thinking it was that. I don't know why. I always kept thinking that. That's why I had to stop myself and go, wait a minute. No, it's not. But still, I mean, that type of character, Sergeant Rod, it would be interesting to see what he would have done with that character. Who he would have cast in it would have been pretty different from other Tarantino films. Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. I've never seen the original. I've heard of it. So apparently there was tossed a remake of that. He was a huge fan of Simon Pegg and sought to adapt the Len Dayton novels into a film starring Simon Pegg, Kate Winslet, Michael Caine, Anthony Hopkins. I don't know who Len Dayton is, so can't say anything about it. This is funny considering the last time I talked about this, people said the movie credit would be about Pauline Kael, a biopic, and it says here, Tino has said he has no respect for biopics, saying that they are just big excuses for actors to win Oscars. Even the most interesting person, if you're telling their life from beginning to end, it's going to be a fucking boring movie. So, I guess the person who wrote the article didn't read this, so I think that pretty much confirms it's not going to be about Pauline Kael. I sure read this before I did that video, but just like that guy wrote the article for that, but so more than likely it's going to be, like I said, it's about to be a random guy who's a movie critic and about his love of 70s and movies. He says, there's one story that I could be interested in, and it would probably be one of the last films I ever made. My favorite hero in American history was John Brown. He single-handedly started the road to end slavery, and he killed people to do it. He decided if we start spilling white blood, then they're going to start getting the idea. Well, I mean, that's not the film he's making, so more than likely it's not a biopic. A Pauline Kael. Untitled 1930s Gangster Project. Tarantino first teased. See, that's what I mean. It's like he wants to do a disaster movie, then he wants to do a gangster movie. Who knows what the hell he wants to do? All these projects. Hostel Part 3. He didn't come back to executive produce because he produced the other ones. Fine. Like, not a big Hostel guy. Expressed interest in making a screwball romantic comedy in the vein of Howard Hawks, but that never came to be. He's also making a medieval movie in the Middle Ages. And Helen Mirren, the part of a monarch, that never came to be. Tarantino has been trying to get Fox to let him remake the 1987 film Less Than Zero. Yeah, I don't know why you need a remake of that movie. In December 2010, there was talks of a fourth From Dusk Till Dawn film. But in November 2013, it was reported that became a TV series, which I didn't bother to watch. In 2011, he mentioned doing a family children's film. I've always wanted to come up with a story that I wanted to do as a kid's film. I remember working at the video store, Video Archives, that if a kid likes a movie, like, say, Mighty Ducks, they see that movie 20 times, 30 times. They know the names of all the kids in the Mighty Ducks, and it's like, that's an audience member I want on my side. I just have to come up with the right storyline. That never happened, of course. Something called Killer Crow, about a group of World War II era black troops who have been fucked over by the American military and go apeshit. They go on an Apache warpath and kill a bunch of soldiers and officers on a military base and are just making a warpath to Switzerland. Well, again, that never came to be. There was plans of doing a sequel to Django, but then the project was rewritten as the film The Hateful Eight. I do remember hearing about this, and sadly it never came to be. At Comic-Con 2014, Tarantino revealed he is contemplating a possible sci-fi film that will also contain horror. It would take place on Earth. He was inspired to create the project after watching It Follows, which he enjoyed. It's one of those movies that's so good that you start to get mad at it for not being great. The fact that he didn't take it all the way makes me not disappointed, but almost a little angry. The project which Tarantino stated was also inspired by The Thing, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, was a slasher sci-fi horror, but he canceled saying his style was too wordy for horror. Not really, I mean, that would make it more unique. In 2019, he said he would love to revive the project as his final film. I'd be more interested in that than the fucking movie critic, but okay, if you're telling me like to rank them, that would be the number one thing I'd be curious about. His take on a slasher horror. If he's saying The Thing and Halloween are inspirations, that would be number one. Sergeant Rock would be up there. Luke Silver Surfer would be up there. I would say the horror film would be number one. The 70s disaster movie would be number two. And then Sergeant Rock, Silver Surfer would be like number three and such. A sequel to Django, which would have had Zorro in it, and he wanted Antonio Banderas to come back as Zorro. And then Jamie Foxx as Django. I mean, that's so weird, I would actually see it. But it did come out as a comic book. So they just made a comic book. A Hateful Eight stage adaptation. Why? Of course, the big thing people remember, Star Trek. It was announced in December 2017 that Tarantino would pitch an idea to Paramount Pictures for a new Star Trek film. A writer's room was assembled to flesh out the concept. The plan would be for Tarantino to direct the film with J.J. Abrams, who had previously directed and produced early Star Trek reboot projects, on board to produce. In May 2019, Tarantino confirmed that his Trek film was still in development, saying it's a very big possibility. I've been dealing with those guys for a while because I've been making my movie. We talked about a story and a script. Tarantino discussed the project June 2019, stating that Smith had turned in his script and Tarantino would soon be adding in his notes the intention for the film to be rated R. December 2019, Tarantino left the project, looking to make a small budget film. The film would have revolved around Captain Kirk and his crew, with the film taking inspiration from gangster movies and involving time travel. Would have been standalone nature, similar to an episode of Star Trek the original series. To be honest, I would not give a shit to see a Tarantino Star Trek film. I don't think that's in his wheelhouse. I think that's it's too weird of a fit. I'd be curious, but gung-ho about it, not really. To me, that just doesn't fit Star Trek. That's just me. In 2019, Tarantino revealed that he had written a limited series of 5 half-hour episodes of the in-universe Once Upon a Time in Hollywood series Bounty Law with Leonardo DiCaprio. Although Tarantino doubted that would want a reprise role, but would be pleased if he could. Inspired by Wanted Dead or Alive and The Rifleman. Yeah, obviously that never came to be. In June 2021, Tarantino stated that he had considered a remake of Reservoir Dogs, though he quickly iterated that he won't do it. Yeah, you don't need a remake of Reservoir Dogs. Same with a stage adaptation. Why? What is this fascination with stage adaptations? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood stage adaptation. Yeah, I love to see a stage adaptation of the ending of Flamethrowing Fools. In June, I did hear about this. In June 2021, Tarantino revealed that he had an interest in directing a film adaptation of the First Blood novel. He voiced interest in casting Kurt Russell as the sheriff and Adam Driver as Rambo. He states that the inspiration for his idea came from the dialogue in the novel and David O. Russell's career, where Tarantino believed that for his film The Fighter, that he got over himself over being the auteur and focused on making a good movie. A strategy Tarantino would seek to emulate. You don't need a... You know what? That was done. It's called The Hunted, with Tom Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro. You want to see the novel version of First Blood? Go see The Hunted by William Friedkin. talk about stuff related to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, True Romance novelization, a comedic spaghetti western. It seems like a lot of genres he wanted to dip his toes in and just never came to be. Like I said, I would say of the ones that interest me the most, the horror, sci-fi, horror slasher movie he wanted to do, that's definitely number one. I'd be curious as to how that would entail. Number two would be the 70s disaster movie. And number three would be the Sergeant Rock or Silver Surfer. Like, just out of curiosity, how that would entail. Remade Reservoir Dogs? No. First Blood adaptation? No. Again, you want to see that? Go see The Hunted. I'll just stick with the Rambo films as is. As for other stuff, I don't know. I don't know. As is. It is what it is. Oh, that's sad. As soon as I popped this on there, Lance Reddick from the John Wood films passed away at 60. You kidding me? How? He was really young. Natural causes? What natural causes when it's 60? That's way too young. Natural causes? I don't know, man. I don't know about this natural causes stuff. Well, that sucks. That definitely sucks. Well, with that said, sorry to end on a bummer, but just saw that in the news feed. Yeah, that sucks. With that said, thanks for watching. Take care. Sorry that I ended on a just huffing and just like, what? Fuck. With that said, thanks for watching. Take care. And we will see you guys later. Bye-bye.